Well, where have you been? I could use a little bit of help here. And of course, you're off doing whatever you're doing. Well, you got better things to do than hang out here, right? Guys, I'm too good looking for TV, I'll tell you. Or your internet. What do you think? I'm always at my prime, ain't I? Out here working on this intake. Last time you guys saw it, it was a little old stock Ford intake. Now it's a modified Ford intake. Look at this, fellas. I have the only Ford intake that I know of. That's an air gap from back in, well, what year is this intake? 1983. I have a 1983 air gap. Yeah, I cut the divider down right in here. I don't know how much that would help. Some people say that helps. I've seen dyno tests where they say it works. I think a spacer works just as well, but what happened there, the plenum is so thick from being made from Ford with no intentions of being a dual plane, that getting that plenum straight in there, the divider got thin up the top. And I'm still working on it. I don't know if you can tell. It's still very thick right in here. So that's what I'm doing. I'm straightening this out. And I'm going to go way back yonder in here. As you can see, guys, I put my signature cut back on the runner right here, where it goes into the runner, and I'm going to arch this back in here up to the top, because there's very little room down from the floor to the top here for the air to go through. So I do this on most of the intakes anyway. As long as there's enough metal there, I'll arch this. I've never gone through doing that. The air gap I have, I raised that way up. And I know some guys are going to say, well, you got to keep that consistent. But I'd rather have more air than not enough air. That's how I look at it. Boy, I'm pretty. Anyway, that's where we're at. For those who might be watching this for the first time, besides thinking I'm crazy, if you think that, you're right. But that's beside the point. We're taking stock Ford parts and we're going to do old school stuff. Some ideas I have that I think work. And we're going to try to put some serious numbers down with stock Ford small block parts. Using probably GT40 heads. That's my plan, because I have them 3/4 of the way done. That's been laying around forever, and those of you who's been watching me already know that. So I try to give someone else that might be just tuning in for the first time an idea what we're talking about. So I think what we're going to try to do, guys, is well, some guys talk a big game. I hope I'm not doing that to you fellas. I'm going to shoot for 1050s in the quarter mile. Now the only problem I have with that, I've said this before, I get kicked off the track going 1150s. So we might have to test this car with a GoPro or the phone, whatever they call that thingamajiggy on the phone that my son uses. It tells the quarter mile. They're pretty accurate. My son's been within just a little bit of what the vehicle really ran down the track. So we'll get a real good idea how fast it goes. I say GoPro, that's the camera, guys. Bear with me. I'm stuck back in the 50s. So, that's when I was born, fellas, in the 50s. Believe that? Look at this. I still look 20 years old, don't I? Yeah, right. Here's the thing. I'm going to do quite a bit of work to this intake. But here's the thing. If somebody just wanted to try to do a little sleeper build for their Mustang or a little any kind of Ford that they have, or a Chevy, you usually see same principles on whatever you have, Mopar, Ford, Chevy. Because anything you do to let air go through an intake a lot easier than it would stock is usually going to help. I'm going to open this up to a bigger gasket, which I showed you guys before, and I believe it's this one right here is what I used on the head. But the best thing for me to do is to drag the head out, max the gasket, before I open this intake up. Because if I max the intake to this gasket, and then I find out that I made a mistake, and the head's smaller than this, that would leave me two choices. To either try to open the head up more, or weld or epoxy this intake. That'd be a lot more work than just getting the head and checking it to see what gasket I use. I don't know if it's a 1262 or what it is. And I don't see any number on it, so there's no sense me guessing. My son would probably pick that up and know exactly what it is. I'm the one that should know that. I do head work, and my son, he knows the gaskets better than I do. So, hey guys, want to see a little trick? My friend, one of my best friends mentioned this. He uses a pizza box in little boxes, but this is what I had here. But if you're doing any kind of porting and you have metal, that saves your bench a lot of trouble from getting messed up and sweeping it off like I've been doing. So Ed from Ed's Machine said, you know, Terry, why don't you use a box? I said, Ed, I do when I have it laying around, but if I do this stuff all the time, wouldn't you think I'd keep a box around so I would have it? No, that's only people that have common sense. Guys, what you do have to have is common sense when you do this kind of work. And just like cutting this plenum down right here, that's not necessary, but I did it. And I don't think it's going to hurt anything because I'm trying to get as much volume out of this plenum as I can. Because as you can see, it's very small. One of the things I like about the WIN 8011 we have is it has a big plenum area, and I wouldn't think that would be good for torque. But much to my surprise, I happen to have my air gap RPM intake out one day, and I happen to have the 8011, just where I could happen to look at both of them at the same time. And I was always worried about making the plenum too big in the air gap, because I went pretty good on that. And when I compared it to that little 8011 that we use, I was surprised because that had a much larger plenum, and yet it makes more torque. So that's always a good thing. And that intake was the cheapest intake back in the day. I remember, I believe, when that thing was $69, and then it went to $79, and of course on up. Now they don't make it. Hey guys, every time I come out here, I have something stuck in my tooth. Why is that? Well, probably because I come out here after I eat. Had some meat that was tough to chew. I think anything's tough to chew when you get up in your 60s, fellas. But we're gonna get back on this intake and try to knock this thing out. So that's out of the way, because I'm gonna let you guys in on some things coming up. Is my 460 is next in line. I still have the heads to finish up on that, and we'll be getting into that on another segment. There's no sense me telling you everything in one segment, but that's coming up. So you guys watching and wishing I'd be getting on the 460 stuff, don't think, well, he starts on it, then he goes off of it, then he starts on it, he goes back off of it. I do. I know that. I have to pick and choose my battles here, fellas. Just like the bodywork. The bodywork's on hold because it's too cold in the garage. So, I do what's kind of there. And you guys know I had to come off of what I was doing before because my son wanted that other intake done. The one I showed you, fellas. It's going to be fuel injected and for the Green Gangster. If I had to pick and choose things, guys, I kind of hate to say this, but if I had to play favorites, the old Green Gangster right here and the black car over there on the other side, I get more excited over them cars than I do anything that we have, because they put us on the map where we're at, basically, them cars, as far as like with the pretty low numbers that we go. I know we're not setting the world on fire, fellas, but for using stock parts and doing what we do, these cars have just been above average to me, guys. They hold a special place in my heart, both these cars, and my son too. But anyway, after I get done with the intake, which hopefully will be in a few hours here, not a couple days, then we're going to be jumping on the 460 stuff. That's my plan. So guys, I just want to let the ones know that it's waiting for the 460 stuff. I didn't forget about it, and I don't mean to get anybody excited and then, wow, he's on the 460 stuff. I appreciate that you're interested in that. I want to see the truck up and running as bad as anybody, but I have to weigh my battles out here, fellas. You know, it isn't just like you do a couple dents on a car and then the car is ready for paint. I have the whole car to do here as soon as the weather gets good on that, and it's back and forth with stuff. So you guys mostly understand that, I think. I just try to tell you fellas this because of one reason. I had a guy a while back say to me that you're not finished on what you started. I work full time, and then I do this, and I'm out here till, I've been here till, well, not lately, but me and my son and I have been out here in this garage till 3 or 3:30 in the morning at times, and he's pulled all niners out here at times, guys. I've gone in and he's stayed, so it takes time doing this work. I think most of you fellas know that. I know a few of you guys have pulled all niners on your projects, so I'm not the only one doing it. I'm just letting somebody know that, wondering what's taking me so long to do certain projects. It takes a while, guys. Everything I do is time consuming. If I had something that just took a few minutes, then it would get done, but this stuff all takes time. Hey guys, I want to show you this. I almost forgot. This is what I used to take out that center right here, them 4 holes. Yeah, I did it that way on one of these things here till it fell apart. So these are only good for so long. What happens with these things is that they stretch, and then the paper rolls don't want to go back on them. And so if you buy these to do any kind of porting, you might as well get a couple packs, because if you're going to be using it for a while, I've had problems with these in the past, and sometimes this nuts will come loose on them, and then you can't get it back on to tighten it back up. Just a little thing I've ran into, so I'll pass it on to you guys. But anyway, with that, guys, I'm going to jump back on here. And I don't know if you guys would want to see me do this kind of stuff or not. And I don't want to bore you. I don't want to make a long segment. But this is what I'm doing right now, fellas. I'll just show you real quick. I'm leveling this out. And I could use a sanding roll for that if I wanted to. But I don't really have any that's good. But these here work fine and dandy. If anybody don't have these bits, you go to Harbor Freight. You can buy this with the shank. They're like $20 for a whole, well, that's what they come in, this little tray here that I'm using to hold all this other garbage. But I don't know how many you get. They have 80 grit, 120, and so on. They have multiple grit paper rolls in them. They're like $20. Well, here in Jersey, they're $20. Sometimes they go up to 22. I've paid, actually I've gotten them a little bit under 20 before, but anyway, we're going to level this out. This bows way out, guys, from the factory. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to cut this back. I'm going to try to make this as straight as possible, because it goes from back here, it dips down, and it goes way up in the center here. Makes it a little rougher when you're doing this kind of work, leaving these studs in, but I'm not taking them out. But I just thought I'd show you guys that, only for one reason. People that do this kind of work know how to make something straight. Other guys never done it before, they might not know. So it's just keeping something level and straight, guys, if you do something like this here. You don't want to let it dig, especially if you have a aggressive burr for aluminum. I have a double cut on this. It's a finer grade double cut burr, so it doesn't take a lot of metal. But if you had like a aluminum burr, a single cut, and it's aggressive burr, it would dig real fast, and you'd be sorry that you stayed there too long, or take up in a place where you're trying to get in there and it grabs. There are things I thought I'd tell you real quick, guys, because you're better off if you're never used to doing this kind of work. If you've never done it, a sanding roll is a good way to go. There was a live one the other night, and they were talking about porting and doing a few things, and somebody's asking questions about that, and they wanted to know what kind of burr they needed. And you're really better off using a sanding roll if you're not used to doing this work. That's my opinion. Well, another thing I want to mention, a sanding roll will stay smooth. Where a burr will start jumping on you, the sanding roll will stay more true to what you're doing. And if you happen to slip one of them, then it's not going to hurt anything, as nowhere near like a bit would. And chances are you will control that a lot easier. And here's another thing, you don't need to run something at high speed like that. Something will actually dig in better at a lower RPM. And you'll save your sanding rolls a little bit of life if you run at a slower RPM, because they work better. Like I said, they'll dig into the metal more. And but we get in a hurry. We want to get it done. But what that will do also, it will polish it more than it will take the metal. So just a little thought here that I'm passing on to you fellas, or ladies in this case. I think it was a lady that wanted to do her own work. So I hope that's a little helpful. So anyway guys, I'm going to pack it in here. I'm trying to hammer this stuff best I can. I wanted the intake done because I don't want it to come time to do this engine and have to try to get this knocked out. I want it to be where the engine comes here, this intake's already done, out of the way, and we can move on to the next thing. So I think we're going to call this sleeper build, and when I refer to that in my segments, I think I'll put the title up as a sleeper build. Then you guys will know that that's for the 302 stock appearing engine that we're doing. So anybody that's interested in this, and you know anybody else that's interested in this, share it with your friends. And cause that's what I do. I share things with my friends and my family if I think they're interested in something. And it's a lot nicer when you have a few people to, hey, did you see this on YouTube? Did you see that guy doing that Ford thing, or a Mopar thing, or the LS thing? Makes it good when you know somebody's watching something and you send something their way. So a lot of guys are interested in the Ford stock stuff still. I'm surprised at that, because you know it's easy to go to the junkyard and pull 500 horse 400 out of the junkyard, and we still have a few old school guys left that like this stuff, doing things the old-fashioned way, kind of. Hey, I'm surprised how many young guys, on that note, like this stuff. I don't want to say something wrong here, because I am very surprised all the young guys that are still messing with the old school stuff. My hat's off to them guys, because I don't know where they learned it from and how they even be interested in doing a 302 when they could just go get a late model vehicle and mess with it. I'll tell you, my hat's off to them guys. I'm serious, because that's how you learn. If you have something that's ready-made horsepower, what are you going to learn about it? After it breaks down, you have to tear it apart, or what are you really going to learn if it's already fast in the first place? There's different ways of looking at that. That's just my old school way of thinking, guys. So anyway, with that, I want to thank every one of you for tuning in, watching me, and I always want to take time to do that if I think about it. So mine don't work to remember everything, guys. But anyway, and I want to say a special hello to Jimmy. And Jimmy, I hope you're feeling okay, my friend. And if you can, leave me, I always look forward to hearing from you. So leave me a little note if you can. Yeah, we have some good friends out there, guys, on YouTube. I really enjoy talking to you guys. So anyway, with that, I want to thank you again, and say God bless you. Have a good night, or a good day, or a good afternoon, wherever you're at, whenever you're watching this. See ya.